Beep boop.
Is that robot for ready? Welcome to the Movies to Watch Before You Die podcast. I am your host, Dylan, along with my cousin and co-host,
Gab.
And today we're talking about a movie that I have nominated as a movie to watch before you die. But before we start talking to you about the movie, Gab is going to tell you real quick why you're listening to us.
You know, I just feel like lately this has fallen on my shoulders every episode. Like, aren't we
Somehow
supposed
it
to trade
has.
on and off? Yeah,
I don't know.
why is this my
Do you
job?
want me to do it?
No, it's fine. I've got it now. So listen, you're listening to us because we have a lot of experience in the podcasting universe. We have a lot of experience watching movies, and secondarily, we have both majored in college in a field of study that is related. Me as an actor, Dylan as a film editor. So we've got some credentials, and you know what? If you've got a problem with that, you can take it up with the Lord.
Okay. Wasn't 100% on the end there, but you know what, Gab? That's why you do it every week, because you have got this down to a science. And
Yes.
Today we are talking about not the 2023 movie, the 2001 movie, Joyride.
Yeah, I did almost get bamboozled into watching the 2023 one. I was like, this doesn't feel like a Dylan pick.
That definitely would not be a Dylan pick. I heard decent things. I mean, it was in and out of the theater very quickly, but
Oh,
I heard it was okay.
yeah.
I think my grandma and my aunt went to see it. Didn't seem like their kind of movie, but hey.
Well then.
But we're talking about the 2001 Joyride, the horror thriller, not the feisty comedy movie. Gab, why don't you tell the people, what is Joyride about?
What's this all been about? What am I working toward?
You think you know everything about me, don't you?
I dive at your bottom. I bloody well ought to.
This movie is about a college student who has been kind of talking to this girl that he knows from home who just had a breakup and he's trying to move in. So he offers to drive her home from college from Boulder, Colorado to New Jersey, even though he doesn't have a car. So he quickly runs out, buys a car. On his way, winds up picking up his older brother who's in jail in Utah, Salt Lake City. They get a CB radio installed, start fucking with some truckers, and chaos ensues when one of the truckers doesn't take the joke so lightly.
Ooh, okay, that's pretty good. I like how you ended it there.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if IMDb agrees with you. The IMDb plot summary says, 3 young people on a road trip from Colorado to New Jersey talk to a trucker on their CB radio, then must escape when he turns out to be a psychopathic killer.
Yeah.
Want to hear some taglines?
Something tells me I'm not going to like them, but I guess.
We've had a lot of movies recently, I feel like, that have been like, here's 8 taglines. And this continues that trend.
Oh, boy.
Don't screw with people you don't know.
All right.
Which also feels like it's just your very Italian family member's piece of advice. Hey,
Yeah.
Don't school with people you don't know. Capiche? Like, you're just like,
honestly,
okay, I won't.
That sounds like something my uncle would say.
It was just a joke, just for fun.
I guess in the world of taglines, that's okay.
I like that one a little bit. It started as a joke. Now the joke is on them.
No.
Okay. Terror comes in all shapes and all sizes. ... I don't know what that one means. Like, maybe if he turned into a giant at the end, was going to step on them. I don't know.
Yeah.
How much fun can you have? ... When the joke is on you.
No.
Okay. This fall, everything you say will come back to haunt you. Everything you see will terrify you. And everything you hear will drive you over the edge.
I get what they're saying, but I think that don't bring me into it, you know?
Also feels a little long.
Yeah. And it also feels like this movie wasn't really about the things that you see. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like,
all right. There's one
there
more.
was a lot more hearing. Anyway, go ahead.
Don't play with strangers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's it.
They're saving the best for last.
I mean, it's true. I think if I had to pick one of those, it was a joke just for fun.
Yeah. 100%.
All right. Should we go over the plot more before we get into our opinions?
I think you should. Yeah.
Okay. I picked this movie because I feel like it's a very simple story and a very straightforward one. You already explained that they're on a road trip to go meet this girl. He's picked up his brother, and the brother gets a CB radio installed in his, used car that he just bought. and he decides to mess around with some truckers. And not only that, he also does make some use of it. He's finding out, like, are there cops on the highway or can we speed our asses off?
Mm-hmm.
But he decides to mess around, decides to play a prank on one of the truckers by having Lewis, who is played by Paul Walker, pretend to be a woman. And one of the truckers bites at it and they play a prank on him. And it turns out that this guy does not handle pranks well. And when he arrives for what he thinks is a meetup with a woman, he murders the man in the hotel room that they sent him to, who was a jerk to them. And then he decides to make it a mission to track them down and destroy them. Obviously, scares, tension, suspense ensues, and they think they get away. They do meet up with their friend. And then once they meet up with their friend, the trucker comes back into play. And, I do love the way he reintroduces himself. He says, I thought you said there was no girl. And it's like, oh shit, he's back.
Yeah.
And once again, he's like, coming after them. And it's really just about them trying to survive this guy's onslaught.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah. Should we get into our opinions straight away?
I think it's time.
Okay, so I'm excited to hear what you say about this because I honestly just saw this movie for the first time probably a month ago.
Oh.
Yeah, our friend Cassidy was staying over and we were just watching movies and she picked this because she had seen it and I was like, this fucking rocks. Like, I was like, this is awesome. I think that is done so well, and I think there's a couple things that I really enjoy about it, and one is the fact that we never actually see our bad guy.
Yeah.
You get like little glimpses of like the person, but you never really he has this air of mystery over him and this air of freakishness that you're like, he is this unstoppable force, because what we know about him is the man who previously like talked back to him got his fucking jaw ripped off. And he's willing to kidnap a woman. He's willing to drive their car up against a tree, which the first time he catches up with them, he drives their car like off the road. They crash into a tree trying to get away from him, and then they're stuck up against the tree. And he's asking them, he asked them previously to apologize, which I'll get into in a second. But he's just driving his 18-wheeler truck into their car, into this tree, and their car's starting to fucking crush under this truck. And they finally admit, like, we're sorry, it was a joke, just for a laugh. We were just having fun with you. And the moment that the trucker says to them, who the trucker goes by the call sign Rusty Nail, he says, I was just having fun with you. And he just backs away. There's a part of me that's like, if this movie is a 20-minute short film and that's the end of it, it might be even fucking better. Like, there are other things that are great about this movie, but I'm like, that short sequence is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you do also have, you have that horror movies are all about making you as tense as possible and then giving you release, and tense and release and tense and release and all that. And you have such a quick moment of you've been made to feel all this tension because the truck forced them off the road. They thought this truck was following them, and it turns out that this was, a different truck. This was a guy who happened to like see that they left their credit card at the gas station. He turns out to be like the nicest fucking guy. He's like,
yeah,
they're going, I've got a gun, when he's walking up to the car, and he goes, and I've got a MasterCard. And it's just a moment of this guy being like, bro, I was just trying to help you out. Like, he's so nice. And then all of a sudden, you got the release, you've come back down, you feel comfortable. And as he's backing his ice truck up and getting ready to drive away, the truck is horizontal to them, and the truck fucking explodes as the 18-wheeler drives right the fuck through it. And it's just like, oh no, tension again.
Yeah.
And I think this movie just does that very well, that building tension. Like, you'll tell me in a second, but I think, to stop my filibuster, I'm just going to end by saying real quick, the end of this movie is so fucking intense in a great way.
Yeah.
In this critic's opinion,
that's just like your opinion, man.
Well, I have a right to my opinion, and my opinion is you have no right to your opinion.
So overall, I think that you're right. It does do a really good job of like creating the chaos, like the tension, the holy shit, what's going to happen? And then like, oh, woof, they got away. On the one hand, I do think that maybe that as it pertains to this genre of film can be a little bit like make it a little bit predictable, because there were definitely points where it was like, holy shit, what's going to happen? But I was kind of like, I know they're not going to die. And, you could make the argument that like, yeah, of course it's only 45 minutes into the movie. But like, on the other hand, per Game of Thrones, right? Like, really, as a writer, anybody could die at any minute. Like, you could kill off whoever you want. So
I was going to say, yeah, that could totally happen.
I was a little bit like, oh, this is a tense moment, but like, I know they're all going to be okay. And I think that's more on me and like kind of my like lack of warmth for this genre, because I do kind of feel that way about all of these movies, these suspense movies, where like, save for the ones, and I don't even think I could name one off the top of my head, but I know there are a few suspenseful movies that I really like because of the writing and the plot twist. I do feel like oftentimes I'm like, well, yeah, of course they all got away unscathed, and then of course at the end there's that like ... wait for the sequel, which is like a little overdone, I think. But anyway, it does do a really good job of that. I think that there are a couple of things, not to get like all red eye on you, but the one thing that I kind of was not really able to rationalize was when they get the CB radio, they get that huge antenna that comes with it in the back of the car. And when Rusty Nail first goes to the motel that they lured him to and told him that Candy Cane, the fake girl, was in the room of the guy who was a dick to them, he obviously like kills this guy who's an asshole. He's got to see in the parking lot that the person with the CB radio is there. So that giant antenna is like 6 feet tall. And so for him to have kind of just left, and I don't know if maybe I'm just missing putting the pieces together where he knew it was them and he waited to follow that. You know what I mean? But I just feel
I think he did.
Okay.
I think he realized, like, he obviously knows that a joke has been played on him. And I think he does. We know that he spends the next day, as Fuller puts it, you spent the whole day driving around looking for a voice, because he's just on that radio going, come in, Candy Cane. Which I do like all the call signs that we have in this movie, because they do all fit in some way. That Fuller is the black sheep, Lewis is Mama's boy, Venna is Candy Cane, and he is obviously Rusty Nail. Did you find yourself feeling that tension though, or were you just taken out of it?
No, I felt the tension. It wasn't enough to take me out of it. I just did think to myself, like, this car is so easily identifiable. And anytime, like, my mom had a CB radio growing up and I never used it. Like, it was before me, but I know she said that they used to, which I was a little, now as an adult, I'm like, the fuck were you doing with a CB radio? But I do know that it was very easy to identify who else had a CB radio based on that antenna.
I think, one, he does end up finding it identifiable, because once he is following them, he goes, you really should get that fixed. Like, that is his reveal that, like, he's known
the tail light, yeah.
And I also think that there is a lot of aspect to this movie where it's sort of like when a predator plays with its prey. You know what I mean? Because I think the entire time Rusty Nail feels in control of the situation, that he's like, oh, you guys fucked with me? I'm going to take this so much further than you ever did. Like, I think from the moment he lets them go the first time, he just continues following them because he's like, I'm not done with you. I just want to wait until I can make this even worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, 100%. Speaking of, people like that are the worst.
He's the pettiest bitch.
Yeah. Like, it's just so petty. It's like, Jesus Christ, like, relax, I think Steve Zahn is America's sweetheart.
I have never seen him in something and not like Steve Zahn. And I think that's another thing that is interesting about this movie, is that Steve Zahn and Paul Walker, who are both very likable actors, both are kind of shitheads in this movie. Like, they're wrong from the start.
Yeah.
It's only we come back to their side because this guy is so much worse than they are. Like, yeah, he's right when, if they had just apologized, maybe things end differently. Because instead of apologizing, they still proceed to be like, fuck you, man. You know what I mean?
See, I disagree. I felt like if let's say Candy Cane was a real woman, I feel like he was going to murder her. Like, I feel like he is just a killer. And the fact that he thought he had an easy kill with Candy Cane pissed him off.
See, that's interesting, because I don't think that at all. I think that he was excited for the possible, like, I'm sure, obviously he was capable of it. But I don't think that he went there with the intention to kill Candy Cane. You know what I mean?
You don't think this guy is like an experienced murderer who, I mean, he said, how do you get away with killing somebody? Making the body unidentifiable. You cut off the fingers, you break the jaw. Like, I think he was trying to tell them, like, I know what I'm doing.
I think he could be. Like, I'm not saying that he's not killed people in the past. He probably has. But I don't think he went there with the intention of killing Candy Cane.
How many people? Sorry, finish your thought.
I think he went there for the romantic connection. And I think when he made himself vulnerable and then was made the fool standing there with his pink champagne bottle, he, that's why I think it's so much harder for him. Not because he was angry about not getting to kill this woman, because if he just wanted to kill somebody, he could find anyone else to kill. It's the fact that these people made a fool of him. Yeah,
and I guess he wouldn't have brought the pink champagne. How many people do you think are walking around in the streets that have killed people before?
Oh, I don't know. Did you ever watch the show Mindhunter?
No.
First of all, great show on Netflix, only 2 seasons. It should have been way longer. But they're talking, they're the guys who started the profiling for the CIA, or no, the FBI. And they're speaking with a killer about, how do killers think? And they're trying to tell this guy, like, well, no, we know that killers are this way. And he says, it seems like all the information you have on killers is from the ones you've caught. And it's just such a good line, because you just stop for a second and you're like, oh no, because how many people are out there that maybe they have killed somebody and got away with it and just never either did it again or just knew how to do it without getting caught. And the whole show shows you how much the profiling does work, while at the same time they're profiling these famous serial killers and like meeting them during the 1970s. And in the background of each episode is something about the BTK killer, because he's the guy who they didn't catch for 20 years or whatever it was, who was different from every single one of these guys. You know what I mean? And for that reason, it's like, as good as we got at this, we only know this information from the guys that we caught.
Do you remember the story last year where some guy's wife went missing and his internet search history was all like, how long until a body decomposes? When will a body start to smell? How can you what saw to use to cut someone up? It was like the craziest shit.
Yeah. And just this year also, we had the Gilgo Beach killer got caught too, didn't he?
Yeah, finally. That was happening when we were in high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Gilgo Beach killer. He was a fat guy from Massapequa, if I'm not mistaken.
He was like, I don't want to say just an ordinary guy, but it's one of those guys who he must have lived in that neighborhood his whole life. Everybody, people knew him. Yep. I don't know. It's a crazy thing to me that it's like, so he just killed people for years and got away with it. And that's presumably what Rusty Nail was doing for years, I would think.
Yeah. I don't think I could kill somebody. Let me start from the top down. Number one, I don't think that I physically could. When I was in acting school, they were trying to show us about how intimate it is to stab somebody. Like, you don't like stabbing somebody, you have to be really close to that. You could shoot somebody from a mile away, right? But like, if you're going to stab someone, you're basically like looking them in the eye. So they had this giant slab of like red meat that they bought, like a chunk of a cow, and brought it in, and they made us stab it.
I was going to make a reference to something, but I know you haven't seen Rocky. You see,
I was going to say like
punching
Rocky.
The beef,
yeah. It's like Rocky. It was very similar to that. Not as big, but similar. And we'd go up and stab it, and it was like, think about how close you are to this. You know what I mean? Like you can smell it, you can whatever. So stabbing is very personal. I don't think that I could do it. I don't think that I could do it.
I'm glad to hear you say it. I would hope not.
Oh,
Gab.
Yeah. Can you imagine if I got on this podcast and I was like, I would be great. I don't think I could do it.
You look inside these walls.
I don't think that I also could not panic. Like, I think I am just such a nervous, anxious person that I would panic my way to ratting myself out. But also, I don't think I could handle the guilt. I think the guilt would eat away at me.
You'd end up in a telltale heart scenario.
100%.
I think most people would. It shows that you have a conscience. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be a very particular kind of monster of a person to be fine getting away with something like that.
Yeah, I guess I'm not in the minority here. I do also, though, think that even if, like, let's say I had absolutely no moral like issue with it, I killed somebody, I cut them up, I burned off their fingertips, whatever. I did the things that you see on TV, and then I threw them in the ocean. I would spend every single day afraid of every phone call, every person calling my name. I would be afraid of everyone who knocked at my door. I would just be so afraid of getting caught forever.
I got nothing for you there. I'm like,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I mean, again, that's why you have to be particularly unfeeling, empathetic, unsympathetic to be able to do something like that. And also you have to be able to have some degree of narcissism to think like, yes, I am smarter than everyone else. And I definitely,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get caught.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Who was it? The Mendez brothers that killed their parents?
The Menendez brothers.
Menendez. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I love things about serial killers, but Oh, I have a question for you. How often do you think about the Roman Empire?
What?
How
Where's the
often do you
segue,
think?
Gav?
How often? Answer the question, Dylan. How often do you think about the Roman Empire?
Rarely.
Okay. That's all. Eventually you'll understand the reference, but I'm not going to explain it to you. By the time this airs, you'll have already figured it out. Yeah, all right. So back to the movie.
No, I'm not okay with this. What the fuck does that mean?
So there's this thing floating around on the internet that says like men are always thinking about the Roman Empire. And then people are asking men they know, how often do you think about the Roman Empire? And they're like surprisingly are answering like, yeah, pretty often.
I do not think about the Roman Empire often. No.
Okay, that's good.
I have other things to think about.
Yeah. And then there's this collection of women that are like, what is the female Roman Empire? And I think the consensus has been being kidnapped, murdered, or somehow
God, that really speaks to the difference between men and women, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It does. But it's true. Every morning, I mean, I told you I leave my house really early to go to work. And every morning, my number one mission and the thing that gives me the most anxiety is getting from my apartment to where I have to go without being murdered.
Well, the hypothetical rusty nail, I feel like all women always have to be aware of, is there a rusty nail in my presence?
Yes.
And all men are like, everything is fine. I
Yeah.
can walk out this door right now and nothing will happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I feel so good when I'm out with Corey because he's so big and so like unfuckwithable that I'm like, this is great. I don't have to worry. And then as soon as I'm alone, I'm like, oh God. And I have to like scan the street for people. I always look behind me. And then like, God forbid I get on the subway and there's a crazy homeless person on the train or on the fucking platform. I had a homeless woman like not that long ago. There's a corner deli near us that's open 24 hours. So sometimes in the morning at like 5 a.m., I'll go in and buy a water or an energy drink or something. And this homeless woman followed me into the store. When I went to leave, she stood in front of the door and wouldn't let me go. And I had to go into the store and say to the guy who I see every day, like, hey, this lady like won't let me pass. I was scared of her. She was obviously tweaking out on drugs. And he like bullied her away and walked me to the train. But I'm like, ever since that incident, now I'm like always afraid that there's like a homeless person that's going to follow me, you know?
It's nice that the guy walked you to the train, though.
It was super nice. But honestly, I was kind of looking at him like, neither one of us can really defend ourselves. Like, he's not a big guy, you know? And I'm not saying like you need to be big to like physically overpower.
Do the Secret Service, though, and take the hit for you. That's what he's there for.
I suppose. I just think he's got too much to live for personally. But, either way, he definitely scared her into thinking that he was going to call the cops. And I think that was probably her number one fear because she obviously had drugs on her.
But you have your Rusty Nails out there and you have your Steve Zahns out there. And this guy was a Steve Zahn.
A Steve Zahn through and through. Steve Zahn is America's sweetheart. And what a chameleon.
I really don't think of him as that much of a chameleon. I feel like that's why it's surprising for me that he's supposed to be like the black sheep, because I'm like, Steve Zahn, no, Steve Zahn's not going to be a bad guy. Like, I'm totally fine with it. But in general, if you told me like, we're casting a guy, we need this guy to be like, he gets arrested all the time, like drunk and disorderly. What about Steve Zahn? And I'd be like, no, Steve Zahn's far too likable. Like, if you were just asking me to think about it, I would think of Steve Zahn more as the Lewis role than as the Fuller role.
Paul Walker in the car movies, huh?
Yeah, I think this came out the same year as Fast and Furious. And I don't know, did he have other car movies? But like, obviously what he's known for is the Fast and the Furious movies.
Yeah.
The only other thing I remember from is, I don't know if you saw this movie with me growing up, Snow Dogs, I think it was called.
I loved Snow Dogs. I had it on DVD. I think about that movie at least once a week.
I feel like I mixed that movie up also with the Cuba Gooding Jr. There's like a Cuba Gooding Jr. movie where he's doing something with like Snow Dogs.
That's Snow Dogs.
Wait, it's the same movie?
By the way, is it not Cuba Gooding Jr.?
I don't think so, but my grandma once called him Cuba Gooba. my
as a joke?
well, Grandma very common gets names wrong.
But that wrong?
Yes, she called Cuba Gooding Jr. Cuba Gooba. I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast before. I might have, but she also called Sigourney Weaver Sabina McKenna. I can't remember any other ones right now, but like those are like the classics. I feel like other than that, it's just like she clearly gets the name wrong, and then you spend like 5 minutes being like, what do you know him from? And it's like, fuck, Grandma, it's gonna take me a while to get to Errol Flynn when you're calling him like, I don't know, what about that Flint Marco? And you're like, what?
Oh my God, it's so good. I just remember as kids, she would call you Zach and Zach you and me Marlene, who's my mother.
Well, and she would call me Dennis, which there is no Dennis in our family.
Right.
And then we had a dog named Diesel, and she would call me Diesel, and people would be like, "Oh, where's your mom? She's out walking Dylan." And then she's just mixing up the dog and me, and I'm like, "Oh, damn it."
Oh my God, it's so good. It's
These things
so
happen.
good. Yeah. Well, I was always Marlene, so.
All right. Where were we on Paul? We were talking about Paul Walker and cars. God, I'm trying to think of what else there was. Are you stuck on my grandma?
What was Sigourney Weaver again?
Sabina McKenna. It's close.
It's so good. Okay.
She also
I'm
will go
sorry.
and see like every single Charlize Theron or Tom Cruise movie because she like knows that she likes those actors, but it's like, Grandma, you can't see every Charlize Theron movie. Or like, who else is it that she likes? She is a fan of like Robert Downey Jr. So it's like, want to go see that Avengers Infinity War? And it's like, Grandma, you have not seen any of these movies. You don't want to do this.
Yeah,
Don't do this.
That's 4 hours, Grandma. No.
I'm like, I appreciate that you want to, but no, you don't.
That is so funny. Oh my God, she is a gem. We got to hang on to her.
I hope to. Jeez.
Oh boy. All right. So yeah, Paul Walker. I'm gonna be honest. I'm ordering food right now, so that's why I'm not looking at you. I gotta have dinner ready. I don't know. This is how I make dinner. What it is with him and the cars. I do know he died by way of a car, right?
Yeah, he died in a car accident, I'm pretty sure.
Was it a car accident or did the car smush him into a gate?
Well, that would still be an accident, Gav. The car didn't do it on purpose.
Okay. All right. Fair. But yeah, I remember when he died. I also I don't really have a lot of fondness for Paul Walker. This was the first thing that I saw him in. End of sentence. But he's great. He was more handsome when he was younger than he was when he got older.
I feel like he kind of looked the same. Like, sadly, he never got that much older, I feel like. So
I suppose
it's not
that's
like
true.
He looked drastically different.
Maybe the Fast and the Furious from, the commercials that I've seen, because I've never actually seen it. Maybe he just looks a little like more rugged in those movies, and therefore I don't care for it as much. Like his, you know what I mean?
I mean, it's hard to say when you've never seen any of them. I've seen one of those movies, and I jumped in on like Fast and Furious 8 because my nephew wanted to go see it.
Oh,
I was
boy.
like, whoa, this is not it. I think it was when my nephew and niece were both there because we were like, all right, we'll take you. And it was me, Grandma, and the niece and nephew, and boy, oh boy, that was something. it was not for me.
It's become insane, right? Like the cars are flying and shit.
They drove a car into space in that movie.
Oh.
And it's too aware of itself for me to find it as funny as I should. You know what I mean? Like it
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Not my cup of tea. But
Yeah.
where were we here? Venna is a major part of this movie, but I don't feel like she's that important overall.
Yeah, and also I didn't really care for her.
She's more of just like if there's a major critique I'll give to the movie, there's two women in the movie and they're both really just plot devices.
Yeah. That is very true. Yeah, the other girl, I was like, what the fuck?
The other girl shows up for
cares?
one scene so that she can be kidnapped by Rusty Nail to be motivation for the three of them to still care about like all this going on.
I was not into that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't love that, but I like pretty much everything else about the movie. I feel like it does well. I do love particularly Rusty Nail. I think that voice is done so well and does such a good job of taking just a couple of lines and, what's the saying, making a meal out of every morsel. I think I said it in last week's episode, so I'm like, what's the saying that I'm repeating again? But
You're right, though. I agree with you.
yeah, I feel like that is the definition of this guy's a good actor, because he makes every line fucking work.
Yeah. Is he from anything? Do we know him from anything? Is he famous for anything?
Oh, Cap, I'll get to that in the facts.
Oh, I suppose. I just want everyone to know I just placed an order for 2 poke bowls. The order should come out to about $30, and it's going to be $60 because it's drizzling outside.
That is too expensive.
I'm pissed. But Corey's at work. Like, what can I do? Sally, did you hear? You got to get a job. Sally's got to get a job.
Pets would be way different if they could work. They'd just be so much sadder.
She's just our little freeloader.
Cap, should we get to the facts?
I'm trying to think if I have any more opinions. Danny. I thought she was going to say something. Do you have any facts? Any opinions? No, we're good. We can get to the facts.
I love that Sally put her face up to the microphone and just froze. Like, she was just like, she had stage fright. She had a really important thing to say. It was like, can't do it. Can't let the humans know I can talk.
Yeah. Oh my God. Sometimes if I say something, Corey will be like, yes. And he'll go, Sally, come on out. You can stop pretending to be a cat now. She's got it. Oh, it's great.
All right. To the facts?
To the facts.
I want the truth.
Face the facts, ducks.
Facts have no place with an organized religion.
Let's start with our ratings. On IMDb, this has a 6.6 out of 10. On Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter gives it 74%, an average rating of 6.6 out of 10, 86 fresh reviews, and 30 rotten. The audience score is 66%. There's a lot of sixes here.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It goes well with it being a horror movie. It's the ratings of the devil. Audience score of 66% with an average score of 3.6 out of 5. It had a budget of $23 million. It grossed $36 million. I'll get to who starred in it first before I get to the review so that I can get that out of the way. The movie was directed by John Dahl, who also directed Rounder, The Last Seduction, and directs a lot of TV now, like Yellowstone and Billions. He directs a lot of episodes for.
That's where it's at.
The movie was written by Clay Tarver and J.J. Abrams, who have written Vacation Friends, Silicon Valley, Star Wars 7 and 9, Lost, Alias, and Mission Impossible 3. Starred Paul Walker as Lewis, who you may know as Brian from the Fast and Furious franchise, as well as from 8 Below and from Brick Mansions. Oh, that's what it is. 8 Below is the Paul Walker Snow Dog movie. And doesn't Cuba Gooding Jr. have one just called Snow Dogs?
Yeah. And you know who stars in the Koopa Gooba version?
Who's in the Koopa Gooba?
Cisco of the Thong Song fame.
Really?
Yeah.
Yikes.
He plays Koopa Koopa's best friend.
Of course. And we have Steve Zahn as Fuller, who you may know from That Thing You Do, Sleepless in Seattle, which we also did on the podcast, Daddy Daycare, and he was on The White Lotus.
Oh, he wasn't in Scooby-Doo. He was in the Flintstones.
He was?
Wasn't he Barney?
No, it wasn't it Billy Baldwin, or one of the Baldwins was.
Oh,
Barney.
yeah. What Steve Zahn wasn't in Scooby-Doo?
No.
What am I thinking of?
I don't know, Gab.
All right. Anyway.
Maybe you're mixing it with Koopa Gooba, who also wasn't in Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, that is true. They have that in common.
Lily Sobieski as Venna, who you may know from Never Been Kissed, 88 Minutes, and from In the Name of the King. And lastly, as the voice of Rusty Nail, Ted Levine, who you may know as Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs, as Captain Stottlemyre from Monk, or as the Warden from Shutter Island.
Oh, wow.
That was so lackadaisical, but fine. The music was composed by Marco Beltrami, who also did the music for the Fear Street movies, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and the Scream franchise. The movie was nominated in 2001 for Best Picture. No, I'm just kidding. It was nominated for the Golden Schmoes Award for Best Horror Movie of the Year and Most Underrated Movie of the Year. It lost
Golden Schmoes.
The critics' consensus: a well-constructed B-movie thriller Joyride keeps up the necessary level of tension and chills. Critics also liked Zahn's performance as the goofball older brother. Roger Ebert from the Chicago Sun-Times gave it 3.5 stars. You want to be scared and have a few laughs and not have your intelligence insulted? Here you go. Paul Tatara from CNN.com. The endless cat and mouse game starts out silly, then it gets ridiculous. Which was a bad one, but I feel like I said it in a way that made it sound cool. Like, then things get ridiculous.
Yeah.
Mick LaSalle from the San Francisco Chronicle. No one wins awards for movies like this, but this is escapist entertainment raised to the level of art.
Yeah.
Which, art is a strong word, but this is very good escapist entertainment.
It's arty.
The last one, Lou Lumenick from the New York Post. Anyone actually looking for a genuinely scary movie at this point will have a lot of fun with Joyride. Now, I do have a good amount of some fun facts here. Are you ready?
Please.
I can't hear you.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Okay, so for the nighttime chase scenes, the headlights of the trucks and cars were replaced by aircraft landing lights for extra brightness. This helped them to bring down the exposure on the cameras enough to keep the sky consistently black, even if they were shooting at early dawn.
Interesting.
Lily Sobieski ended up filming 2 different romantic interludes, one with Steve Zahn and one with Paul Walker during the shooting and reshooting of the film. Both scenes ended up getting cut.
Yikes. We didn't really talk about how fucked up it was that his brother was just like, you're only friends with this girl that you just drove all this way to talk to, right? I'm just going to go in there and get with her.
Yeah, and, fortunately, it's sort of like happens and is done with pretty quickly because, like I said, Fuller and Lewis, they both, they're not, great guys, paragons of virtue. They both do suck in some ways. Lewis, obviously, much less than Fuller.
He also, she kept saying, no, thanks. I want to just go to bed. I don't want to have another drink. And he kept pressuring her. And I was like, you kind of can't get away with that nowadays.
Yeah. And again, he's he doesn't end up being forceful or anything like that. But yeah, it was take the hint.
Yeah. It was just no is no. No means no.
Very good. We do endorse that. Yes.
Yes.
Although Ted Levine provides the voice of Rusty Nail, he was not brought into the film until post-production. And physically, Rusty Nail is played by the hulking actor Matthew Kimbrough. I think I'd read somewhere that they did try other actors for the voice of Rusty Nail. One of them was Eric Roberts, and I don't imagine that anybody else would do the voice as well as Ted Levine did.
No way.
Okay, so there is also a trucker on the CB radio who warns that there is a Kojak with a Kodak in Jamestown. This is obviously CB slang for a cop with a radar. It refers to the cop show Kojak and the famous film company Kodak. Incidentally, the film was shot on Kodak film. Also, the actor who played Kojak, Telly Savalas, was the physical basis for Lex Luthor in the DCAU cartoons.
Yay!
I have found a way to still bring Batman universe into this. Okay.
You have.
The ending that was chosen for the final cut, which I'll get into some of the alternate endings, is the only ending in which Rusty Nail lives. And there are 2 straight to DVD sequels that have nothing to do with the story of this one.
Nothing to do?
None of the characters are brought back except Rusty Nail, who was played by a different actor. And I couldn't have less interest in watching those.
Terrible.
So let's see here. There are 4 alternate endings. 3 of these they actually shot. One of them they didn't actually shoot. In one of them, Lewis breaks a board that holds the truck up. Lewis has crashed the truck into Rusty Nail at this point at the hotel. Mm-hmm. And the truck is sort of just above Rusty Nail. And Lewis breaks the board that's holding the truck up, and it comes crashing down on top of Rusty Nail, killing him. In another one, Rusty Nail and Lewis are sort of fighting. Venna breaks herself out of her bonds, grabs the shotgun that was set up to kill her, and uses it to shoot Rusty Nail, which makes the least sense because, she had no way of getting out. That is very crucial to the trap.
Yeah.
In another ending, Rusty Nail ends up inside the hotel room and is pushed in the way of the shotgun as the cops enter, triggering it to shoot him. And finally, there's another ending which must have been way different, where during the cornfield scene, rather than jumping to the motel, Rusty Nail ends up chasing Lewis in the truck before ramming a tank and exploding. Like a gas tank, not like a military tank. I saw the look on your face.
Confused.
Then the 3 of them, Fuller, Lewis, and Venna, watch Rusty Nail die in the hospital from his burn wounds before the final credits roll. I definitely think they went with the best ending because I feel like it's definitely the most intriguing of the endings by far.
Yeah.
The original working title for Joyride was Squelch.
What?
Squelch, yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't love Joyride.
Why? Well, okay. Well, let me tell you some other contenders, and you'll tell me if you like any better.
Please.
First, in the United Kingdom and Australia, the movie is called Roadkill because the joyride is not a term that's used there the same way it is here.
Interesting.
Contenders for the final title included Candy Cane and Highway Horror.
No, come on.
Well, that's why they didn't use it, Gab. But what do you like better than Joyride? Do you like any of those other titles better? Roadkill, Candy Cane, or Highway Horror?
I think Roadkill is better-ish. I think it could have been like the Candy Cane Highway Horror. You know what I mean? Like,
wait, no. I'm giving you no credit. I award you no points for smushing two together.
I take it back. I take it back anyway. I don't know. It could have been something about the CB radio. It could have been like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Gab? What? Pitch me a title.
Dylan?
Pitch me a title, Gab.
What was Grandma's name for Sigourney Weaver?
Sabina McKenna.
Sabina McKenna. It means no worries for the rest of your days.
It could be like Just for Laughs or something like that too, but I don't like that much either.
I don't know. Smokey and the Bandit.
Rusty Nail? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Get trucked. I don't know. Let me see here. In one of the other deleted scenes where Rusty and Lewis end up fighting in the hotel somewhat, we see Rusty put his hand in Lewis's mouth and attempt to rip his jaw off, which, as much as I don't have any interest in any of those other endings, even just watching that deleted scene when I did, Gab, I was like, oh, because one, the guy's hands are gross. They have his hands painted to be so fucking dirty that you're like, oh no, don't put that there.
Oh, God.
And then you're like, I know how the movie ends, but it seems like one of the most brutal fucking Mortal Kombat fatality ways to kill someone.
Yeah.
Fortunately, even in that deleted scene, Fuller saves him. Oh, she wasn't even on Jay Leno for this movie. She was on Jay Leno for Never Been Kissed. But Lily Sobieski, I happened to watch the clip and I have to include this, talked about collecting. And she collects from other celebrities. She feels autographs are too impersonal. Hair.
What?
She collects hair. And she actually had scissors with her and cut a tiny piece from Jay Leno for her collection because she felt it was greater than an autograph.
So that's somebody who could easily kill someone without remorse.
It's a bit odd. It's a bit of an odd thing to do, I think.
Is she's from other things? She did not impress me.
She has a lot of credits. She started acting at a very young age, so I think that this was very early for her. She was like 17 or 18 when they filmed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think she acts much now. I think she's an artist now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Probably for the best.
And that is one last fact. At one point for the role of Lewis, producers wanted Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
I assume we would have had a different Fuller then if they had cast Tobey Maguire as Lewis.
Yeah.
I could see it. I could see Tobey Maguire in that role.
I guess so. Tobey Maguire to me is a little whiny. Like he's just emo.
Are you just thinking of Spider-Man 3, Tobey Maguire?
100%. Yes.
Now dig on this.
I don't know what that means.
Oh, come on. It's when he's in his like little goth boy mode and he does his little dance and stuff.
I've never seen it. I'm honestly thinking of the original Spider-Man, and I think Tobey Maguire was kind of a bitch in that.
But we're not here to talk about sad boy Spider-Man. We're here to talk about mail.
And sad boy mail senders. Sorry, I thought that was going to be funnier than it was.
I was going to say I'll just cut that out, but I'm leaving it. And now we'll go to the mail.
Mail time! When you control the mail, you control information.
Mom asked me to ask you if there's any mail for us here by mistake.
What?
All right, we have 2 comments on Big, and they're very brief. So this is going to be a very brief mail segment.
Now, Dylan, are they from Sad Boys?
I don't believe so. You'll have to send in a follow-up comment and let us know if you are a sad boy.
Please.
First from Lanola Cola. We're in for a big movie. That was all the comment was.
Wow. All right, that doesn't sound sad.
They say that brevity is something to wit. Right? What's that saying? You know what I'm talking about?
I have no idea. I've never heard that saying in my life.
Brevity is
Akin?
Yes, I think that's it.
Shut up. I've never heard that before in my life.
Brevity is the soul of wit.
Oh, yeah. But akin to wit would have made sense as well.
Just as close. It's very similar.
Yeah.
That
could have been a cool moment.
I'll give us the credit. We're close enough.
Thank you.
Go
Good,
us. Thank you, Linola Cola.
Us. What is us?
Oh, come on. I provided like 75% of the quote.
All right, whatever. It was like Mad Libs.
Yeah. All right. And now, do you give the writers of Mad Libs no credit, Gab?
Not typically, no.
They did most of the work. You're plugging in like one
suppose.
fucking word.
Question. Do you remember playing a lot of Mad Gab as a kid?
I
Like
remember
me,
that
you
a
and
lot of
Zach?
Mad Gab was played. I don't remember ever playing it that well or that much.
Okay. It's like a core memory of mine.
Yeah.
I had to explain it to Corey the other day.
Well, I feel like it's not a game that had like any lasting cultural significance. Although I feel like I'll go fucking ham in the game Catchphrase and nobody else gives a shit about that game.
No, catchphrase. Our family is built upon catchphrase. Like that's the foundation of this family.
Well, and to me, I will judge you fucking hard if you cannot remotely play well in Catchphrase. Like, I'm like, where's your fucking quickness? Think on your feet.
Honestly, and there are two things that bug me about catchphrase. Number one, when people do the skip like a million times and they just keep clicking till they find one they want. It's like, no, motherfucker. If you find something that you've never heard of, you just got to fucking figure it out. That's number one. And number two, when they give the same clue over and over and over, it's like, yo, bro, it ain't working. Try something else.
I feel like I've been going to a lot of grandma stories lately, but I'll never forget
They're the best.
We were playing with grandma and mom, and my grandma and mom have like an acrimonious relationship. They are not on the best of terms, but like it was a family gathering, so we're all playing Catchphrase. And my grandma just does this flourish with her arms and goes, "I am and everybody stops. Everyone stops. And my mom's just looking at her like, you have to keep going. And she's like, I am and she's just doing she says it again. And my mom's just like, you have to say more. And she goes, Carrie thinks I'm and it was like, oh, like we all were like, don't say it. Nobody say it. Because we were like, is it the C word? Was the clue the C word? Like, we're like, what was it? And she's like, the answer was ballerina. And it's like, what?
What?
Like, you're like, Grandma, that's not a good clue. But she's doing the best she can. She's in her 90s, but yeah.
Oh, man.
All right.
Oh.
Now that we somehow went down the rabbit hole, let me pulse back to the next comment, our final comment from the one and only Scotty Cameron.
Scotty.
On Big, I heard this movie was a big deal. Peter Griffin. Quote, all right, Fox, let's see what you got. Oh, what do you know? The movie actually starts and we don't get a bazillion more studio logos. As far as The Grinch goes, yeah, the 2000 film was panned at the time of release. I think the phenomenon of time heals all wounds, paired with the release of the 2018 Illumination movie, led to some people looking at it more favorably. Who knows, maybe when WB releases its new animated Cat in the Hat movie they announced in 2020, the 2003 movie will get the same treatment the 2000 Grinch movie got. I don't think that's the case. Also, I've not heard any movement on another Cat in the Hat movie.
No, yeah, no.
There are redeeming qualities to those movies, even if the product as a whole isn't good. Lastly, my Michael Ironside comment was made about Starship Troopers because you were blanking who Sam Fisher, a character played by Ironside, was when reading the mail for Starship Troopers in the Cat in the Hat episode. I'm sorry, Scotty. We have had a lot of lingering mail at times recently with our schedules being all wacky. So there have been times where I've read a comment, I'm like, what the fuck is that talking about?
Scotty, the real life timeline of this podcast is heinous.
We are like, we got to make this fucking podcast work. When are you free?
We're meeting at all hours. I'm watching movies in the middle of the night. It's a real train wreck. But luckily, we are back on our regular schedule as of this week.
Which is fantastic because last time we recorded at 12:57 on a Friday, and I just had to edit it in those 3 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, it was truly you didn't know this, but it was live streamed.
It's like in The Simpsons. Is this cartoon going to be live? No, it puts quite the strain on the animator's hands. All right. I think with that, we can get back to our verdicts for Joyride.
All right, Dylan.
You or do not. There is no try.
The guilty will be punished.
Sentence is death.
I think that this is a compact, effective, tense movie. If you're watching the end of this movie when they're at the motel, which hopefully you watched this already and didn't just let me spoil things for you. But
yeah, we never said spoilers.
Maybe, I don't know. I guess I'll put it in the description somewhere. Nobody reads the description before watching a video, do they? I don't know.
No.
But if you're watching this movie and you're not feeling any tension by the time, like, by that ending where they're in the motel, yeah, this movie sucks. But I doubt that you'll feel that way, because I was like, I was like on the edge of my seat, like, what the fuck is about to happen? Because I was like, there's a chance that this movie goes for an ending where one of our characters does die.
Yeah.
It did exactly what a horror movie should do. It felt effectively tense, and it was brisk, and it was entertaining, and I have shown it to at least 3 people since I watched it now.
Wow.
So to me, it's a movie to watch before you die. But I don't believe Joyride 2 or 3 are going to be movies to watch before you die. Gab, what say ye?
Well, Dill, this is a tough one for me because honestly, like, this is not my genre. I don't really care much about these movies. I do think that there's a level of predictability in which, like, we know our main characters are probably going to be okay. We know that even though something crazy is happening right now, there will be some relief soon. I suppose you could say that about any movie. I don't know. What it really comes down to is I enjoyed it. I was in. It didn't take long for me to, like, buy in. I was enjoying the unfolding of the action. But if I think to myself, like, do I feel strongly one way or the other? The answer is kind of no. I don't really feel like I am so excited about this movie that I can't wait to watch it again, or I'm going to think about it or talk about it. So therefore, like, yes, it's a movie to watch before you die. But I don't think, like, God, I hate it. I don't want it to be on this list. I just kind of feel very apathetic about the whole thing. So if I remove my emotion and I think about what makes something a movie to watch before you die, in terms of horror movies or thrillers, was it effective? Yes. Was it entertaining? Yes. If somebody really likes thrillers, would this be a movie that I would confidently recommend to them? Yes. So therefore, like, I guess you get the absolute weakest yes out of me.
I don't want that.
No, I mean, there have been other movies where I felt this way also, right? Like, not every movie have I been like, fuck yeah, that was great. I loved it.
Okay, well, I will take the softest movie to watch before you dies ever. It's a very enthusiastic one for me and a very unenthusiastic one from Gab.
Yeah. But listen, this is not my cup of tea. It will never be my cup of tea.
Were you scared?
No.
No, not at all.
Why? I was home in bed with the cat.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. You weren't like, okay. Did you feel tense?
Yeah, I was wondering what was going to happen, but you know, I'm watching
that is effectively being scared, Gab. I feel like when I say, like, you're like, no movie's ever scared me besides jump scares. And to you, I feel like that means, like, was I scared to sleep that night? And I'm like, no, but were you during the movie like, oh, what's about to happen? Like, that's being scared.
Oh, I understand. This whole time I've been like, no, like, I'm going to sleep just fine. I'm not even going to think about it. Although I'll tell you what, I genuinely am scared every fucking day when I have to wake up early and leave my apartment at 5:00 and go to fucking walk through the streets and get on the fucking train, and hopefully I make it there alive. So, you know.
Well, yes, we've established real life Rusty Nails are scarier than not real Rusty Nail.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what's the scariest? A real Rusty Nail, because then you get tetanus.
And also, who knows what you get from him sticking that hand in your mouth? Ugh.
Honestly, true. Very true.
You lose a jaw, you get some kind of disease.
I'll say this. Corey loves, like, horror suspense movies like this. And if he really wanted to watch one, I would watch this again a second time, knowing at least that I wouldn't hate it. You know what I mean? I'd be like, yeah, let's watch this one. You're going to like it. It's good. It's quick. It's thrilling. And I know it's not a piece of shit.
Hey, I'll take it. That, you know what I mean? I'll take it. So it's a tepid yes, but a yes indeed.
Yes. Now, if I may be so bold, I'd like to discuss what we're going to watch next week. I would like to do my version of a suspenseful thriller.
Okay.
It's a movie that as of late has gotten a lot of pushback. It's a movie that made me fall in love with one of the main actors. And it's a movie that I remember loving because of the performances by this one actor in particular. And as of late, he has said that if he could go back, he wouldn't do it because, blah, blah, blah. So I'm excited to watch it and experience it again. I haven't seen it since it came out in 2009 in the movie theaters. So I'm excited to relive it. And I'm excited to see the performance again. And I'm excited to discuss all the implications. And that movie is 2009's still in Say It With Me, The Lovely Bones.
Hey, I figured it out from the context clues.
Yeah. Stanley Tucci, I was like, obviously I knew Stanley Tucci from The Devil Wears Prada, but like, I didn't know how fucking brilliant he was. Like, he always plays like kind of the friendly, like upbeat guy, and he plays a murderer in this movie.
I have never seen it. I feel like I knew that much about it. I feel like I've only seen him in things where he has such minor roles usually. Like,
really?
Like The Hunger Games or
sure.
Devil Wears Prada, or trying to think of what else. Like, I happen to see him in a lot of like bigger movies where he's not the main character. So I'm excited to see him as a more pivotal character in this movie.
He's amazing. From what I remember, he's amazing. And also like, it was a book first, and don't quote me, and we'll talk about it next week, but I believe that he like lures and murders a little girl. I don't remember if he like is sexually oh boy, how do you say it? I don't know if
is he a Koopa Gooba?
Yeah, I don't know if he's diddling her or not.
Okay.
But I do know he kills her. And I know that as of late, he has said, like, I wouldn't do it again. Like, it was just maybe it was too much on him, or it was too whatever. But, like, I have a lot to say on the subject.
I'll talk about it in the facts next week, but I know there's a famous story about another actor who was almost that role.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah, I'm excited. So anyway, that's my answer to your, like, horror, thriller, whatever.
Okay. So, Joyride, it's a tepid yes, but a yes nonetheless. And next week, come back for The Lovely Bones. Gab, what do we say to end this bad boy?
If you would like to email us, just don't bother. You've been sending too much. I'm just kidding.
No.
If you want to email us, please do. We love reading your emails. You can send an email to movies-to-watch-before-you-die@gmail.com. You can send a voice note there as well, or you can voice note us at anchor.fm/movies-to-watch. You can listen to us on every podcast place and on YouTube. And be careful.
Look out for rusty nails.
Yeah. Be careful of the rusty nails of the world. And the real rusty nails and the murderers.
Be a Steve Zahn. Don't be a rusty nail.
Yeah. Amen.
Don't kill us, man! We apologize! Don't kill us, man! I'm just playing with you, man!
Why?
For a laugh.
A laugh?
Just for fun.
Well, I was just playing with you, man.